What's going on, everybody? Payneblade back here again from Server 1 representing IC. Guys, today we're going to be doing something for the new players and some veterans especially who have not yet figured out which free-to-play units are the best units to work on. So what I'm going to do, guys, today is we're going to go over every single rarity. We're going to go through the Rs, the SRs, and the URs and tell you which units are still good to focus on, which ones you can pretty much let go, and where these units fit. Now, the big thing is there is a tier list out, right? So you guys can follow the tier list as well too, but this is more for people who want a better explanation of why these units are where they are and where they fit better and why they're used as much as they are used. Okay, so let's go through some of these units. I'm going to start off with the rares, guys. Let's get those out of the way because they're quick. So we're going to go ahead and switch this to rarity, and we're going to go to the last one here. Now, the main few units here as a free-to-play player and as a new player that you want to use, especially rares, because a lot of veterans won't use rares, except for a few who need it for the tribes. Now, I'm going to explain which ones specifically, but let's go through the units themselves. So Choji, for a brand new player, is a fantastic unit because he's the first unit you're going to have that's going to be able to do tribe gauge up. Now, what is tribe gauge up for new players? Essentially, when you build your tribe, these units give you the ability to actually raise your tribe quicker by doing specific moves like your skill 2s, which is right here. See here, he increases the tribe gauge by 10, and also the regular jitsus, which will increase it by 30, which is a lot more, right? So these units are really sought after in specific places like PvP, PvE, ideally like an alliance team battle. So when you're building alliance team battle, Choji is a great example of somebody to use if you don't have Blossom or if you don't have Jiraiya. So definitely work on him, guys, especially if you're looking to get ahead with your tribes and your co-ops. So again, very, very useful in PvP content as well as PvE, specifically Alliance Team Battle and the Abyss, and not necessarily used in FG as much. Of Flashback Genealogy, these characters, the D characters, usually are not used very often at all. Okay, so definitely Choji, built him up. 1010 is a fantastic unit as well too because she brings in a lot of buffs and an AoE stun. So as a beginner player, you're going to get her easily accessible to her. So definitely get her up for her stun. But mostly what you want her for is this specific skill 2, which increases all allies attack by 10%. And also the Meteor of Team 3, which gives guard suppression. And if you unlock her LB2, you actually also get the attack up as well portion of it. Here, let me just show you. There you go, attack up for all allies for the rest of the battle. Now this is very sought after, guys. So these are things, again, that you can use Alliance Team Battle and any of the FGs to beat up, especially D units, right? Because they have a lot of guard rate, so you can suppress the guard rate as well using that. And at the same time, she's really sought after in Flashback Genealogy as a free-to-play unit because she does increase attack up, and right there it's a power check for attacks. So definitely 1010 is a great unit to build up. So I would highly recommend if you're a new player and you're looking to use her, and if you're a fan of hers, definitely build her up. She will do a lot for you, especially for a rare unit because she's easy to use, right? Mitski is the other one here that's good to use. He's got a stun for a skill 2, which is not bad, but his main use, guys, realistically, is his defense down from extendable body, plus he does attack down with his limit break 2, and the biggest thing with him is he's also part of the new Team 7 tribe, which can be used in Alliance Team Battle as well, in the Abyss, and any type of PvE content such as FG when you're fighting D units especially, right? So very popular unit. The new UR version of him just came out, but the rare version still has a purpose. So another unit you want to build for sure as a brand new player, or even as a veteran if you're looking to continue using the new tribes, the new Team 7 tribe, sorry. And then lastly, the best of the rares is Kiba. Pretty much used in every piece of content, to be honest with you. PvP, NWT, so Arena, as well as Abyss and in Flashback Genealogy, and you can also use him in Alliance Team Battle because he's one of the only 2 units that actually has instant Jitsu, which instantly gives him his Jitsu right away, and he actually has pretty decent moves. Like his skill 2 here, or his regular skill does more damage on T units, which is pretty basic. His skill 2 gives him Chakra, and then his LB2 and his regular move give active allies attack and also boost damage increase rate for the 3-man cell. So really, really good unit, guys, as a rare. So those are the big rares that you really want to focus on. Some honorable mentions are like you can use Shino here if you're looking for Chakra down, especially for like places like Abyss where Chakra is a plenty for the opponent. Definitely use him to you know, put the opponents in their place essentially for not doing Jitsus, but the rest of them are very mediocre. So Those are the main guys for rares, okay? So let's go to SRs here. Now, Zabuza is harder to build, so he's not very good to focus on, but if you are a fan of his, he's actually a really good unit for damage. Hiruzen is horrible, but unfortunately, he's really hard to build as well, too, and he does have one purpose, which is chakra down, but unfortunately, he has to die for that to happen, and it happens only once, and it's not all, I don't even think it's all units. Let's double check, just to be sure here. I am building him because I do want to showcase on him, but let's see here. Decreases all enemies. Yeah, it is. So it's all enemies one time. So unfortunately, it is lackluster. But I really hope they make a better version of him. This Naruto here that came with the browser version, guys, completely avoid him. He's only there for one thing and one thing only, and that's speed. He doesn't even have a 5-star art. The new Orochimaru that just came out. Listen, if you're a brand new player and you need a power creep unit and a debuffer, he's not bad. For veterans, you already know this. He's not a very good unit. He's all over the place, so I don't recommend focusing on him. D Mama Sakura is okay. The T version is far superior, so you can avoid her unless you really need a healer, which does buffs and debuffs from a defensive perspective, right? She doesn't really offer anything else outside of that, so I don't recommend her. Daru, I do recommend though building up. He is actually a really good unit. He does require Tower of Eternity coins, so it is going to take a little longer to build him, but your main focus should be Sai anyway, so he can sit on the back burner for a little bit, but eventually you do want to put some work into him. If you have Conan, leave her as is. Not required at all. She's good there for a Akatsuki tribe, but she can die right after that. Irrelevant. The brand new Sasuke Power Creep, the first one that came out with Itachi, is actually a decent unit. So worth building if you're a brand new player, if you need a nuke, because he's got the 5k vitality, so you can get instant jutsu with Sai after the second turn. And he's also at level 74. And he's also got pretty good nukes and debuffs. So actually not a bad unit. So I would say yes, if you need a nuke, Sasuke is not a bad nuke to add. Conqueror, actually a really good unit. Hasn't been looked at very much, but he actually does do decent nuking, but his biggest thing for him is the fact that when he defeats an opponent, he actually does a massive damage reduction rate. So that lowers enemy damage reduction by 50% if the target is defeated. So that's all enemies, guys. So that's massive for 2 turns. So he'll actually help defeat opponents a lot easier, especially in content like Abyss and Flashback Genealogy. So definitely a really good unit to use for PvE as well as PvP. So definitely recommend building him up. Tamari, she has her uses. Her biggest use is going to be in FG with 1010. It's called a Tamari 1010 strat. Because she gives all A units attack up with her skill 4, but that's really all she's there for, guys. So really, if you need that extra buff, build her. If not, you can technically avoid her if you want, but if you are going to build 1010, you may as well add her into the mix and give those A units the buff they need. Sakura here, the original Sakura is not bad. Blossom is far superior, and also D unit, as well as Mama Sakura, the T unit. So they're all better. But if you need a healer that can do a decent tribe with Yamato and Naruto, or the Comrades tribe with the Sai, she's actually not bad, and she does offer you chakra up and defense up and gives you a ton of healing. So she's not a bad unit. So again, if you need a healer for Abyss or Tower of Eternity or things like that, she actually is worth building. So I would recommend actually getting her up if you're a brand new player. Same with the SR Naruto, because the old Naruto is not available. Definitely useful for his tribe with Minato and Jiraiya, and also the rest of the tribes. He's got the most tribes in the game, so that alone should be worth building him up and using him. I have the UR version, so I don't have the SR version built, but yeah, I mean, if you have both, build both, and if one of them dies, you can sub in the other one for another tribe. So it's kind of a cool concept there. Same with Yamato. Really easy to get to 7 stars, guys. One of the better free-to-play tanks. You can do the Ryo summons and get all of his fragments, get him to 7, and really good unit for the tribe that he has, as well as just a standalone unit for tanking. Sasori, I would leave him alone. Not very good, but he does have a Akatsuki tribe with OG Datara, so don't need to build him, but if you have him, use him for the tribe. And also, if he dies, he does get defense down all of the opponents. He does provide that as a debuff, and it's actually a pretty good debuff. Kisame is actually having a pretty decent run now. He does have a tribe with Itachi, another Akatsuki tribe with Pain Itachi or Conan Itachi, but he does bring chakra down and chakra up. So now in Abyss, because of the higher floors, I'm starting to actually see a use for him. So for newer players, you don't necessarily have to build him yet, but as you get up in the game, you may consider having him instead of someone like Shino, who does chakra down, and he also does pretty good debuffs and buffs as well too. So he's starting to find a better place in the fix. Tsunade, a good healer, good chakra battery if you don't have Sai. Does do crit up as well too if you don't if you have her LB2, and she's part of the legendary Sanin tribe, which is one of the best tribes in the game, still in my opinion. So not a bad unit if you need a healer. I would honestly recommend getting her up over Sakura, but again, she's really going to be used primarily as a chakra battery and for that tribe. Berserk Naruto, you can avoid. Sarada, definitely get up, because if you are going to use new Team 7 with Mitski and Boruto, you need to get her. Plus, she's a great debuff unit for D units, so she can be used in FG and Abyss and ATB as well too if you're fighting a lot of D units. So it does a lot of good debuffs and buffs for you as well too. Kabuto, he's a mixed bag, so I don't personally use him anymore. He was good in the beginning, but I think you can avoid him, guys. He's not necessarily needed anymore. Let's see what else we have here. So Asuma, not bad. I mean, there are better guards out there for guard rate tanks. He's a little selfish. He's harder to kill because he's a little more selfish. He does an awful lot of guard rate, but there are better options. So I would honestly skip Asuma. Shikamaru is almost essential for any PvE team at this point, guys. He's also great in PvP, so definitely get him up. He's going to be used in Flashback Genealogy for his damage rate reduction down for that one turn, and it's the biggest one in the game. So you hit a lot harder for that one turn. And that one turn means, guys, his turn and then the following turn. So it's almost like two. He also gives T units attack up on his trait, and at the same time he has a Shadow Stitch, which is a stun for one turn. So great unit overall, really good to have. Richimaru, if you're going to build Tsunade, build him, but overall he's a good tank, good debuffer, and he has the only silence in the game. And if you don't know what silence does, silence actually offers you hits the opponent with a 60% chance to cast no jutsus or co-ops or tribes. So very, very useful and a high percentage, so really good. Toby, fantastic unit. Honestly, if you're a brand new player or if you're a veteran, build him up. He does great damage with his AoE, he does a good stun, he does burn, plus he does damage rate reduction with his skill 2 on any target, and then his trait gives damage reduction to all D units, so making tanks a lot less tanky, right? So definitely good. Hinata you can avoid, guys, at this point. She's really not that good anymore. So we get to a really important unit for places like Abyss, because he and Jugo and Kirin, Sasuke Kirin, have the commander of Heavy Tribe, as you guys saw Blue using it very often. But all together, standalone, he's a really good unit by himself. Doesn't hit hard. Don't use him for damage. He's meant to be a tank, but he gives fantastic buffs. So I highly recommend getting him up if you need a good tank. Kakazu. So Kakazu here is an AoE unit. There are better AoE units out now because of the power creep, but if you don't have them and you have Kakazu as a really good damage dealer, you want to put him in the first cell because he does more damage to units that have 50% HP or higher, plus he does damage increase rate up on himself with his skills as well, so does still hit really hard. Neji, very, very good unit, does crit damage up, chakra up, as one of the only support A units that actually hits hard and does pretty good support. So definitely build him up if you have him, guys. Especially as a brand new player, you're going to see the impact that crit damage has and crit rate has, as well as what Neji can provide you with chakra, especially when you don't have Sai in the beginning. So really good unit, build him up. Jugo, you heard me talk about, a little different than Sugetsu. He's a little more as an off healer, but he does have crit suppression on him, and he does survive a lot longer because he does heal himself and the lowest target. So again, if you don't plan to use Commander of Heavy, you don't have to build him, but if you do plan to use it, then you do need to build him up. SR Heavy, still one of the best D units out in the game as an SR. You guys know the event already. If you guys have him, use him, build him up. The first unit that ever came with status effect rate up, also has one of the highest stun rates because of it, also has guard rate, is one of the best units out there for a tank, and pretty much used in all content except for Flashback Genealogy and ATB, which is Lions Team Battle. Alright, Blossom, probably my favorite healer, has chakra up, has damage rate reduction up, has tribe gauge up, brings a lot to the table, guys. So definitely if you're looking for somebody to use in Tower of Eternity or Abyss, she's the go-to in my opinion of all the healers. So I would definitely get her up for that content at least. Boruto, still one of the best hitting tanks one of the best nuking units in the game. Also hits like a Mack truck. So definitely build him up, especially if you plan to use new Team 7. He's going to be the go-getter in terms of the damage that you're going to be outputting. So he needs to be pretty high up. But still, even as a standalone character, still a very, very good unit. Does attack up for himself. Is a little selfish, but he also provides the cell attack up. And his nuke is, like I said, his Vanishing Rasengan is crazy, crazy strong. So very, very good unit, guys. Would highly recommend getting him up. A decent unit for a D unit, does a lot of bonuses to A units, so very good in places like Abyss, in places where you need to survive more, like Tower of Eternity, has a stun, and is one of the faster units in the game. But again, you can technically bypass him. He's not really a necessity. Same with Guy. He's decent, but you can bypass him. He's also very fast. Has pretty good buffs for the cell. Is more of a nuke tank, but again, there are just better options out there, so you can avoid those two. Gaara, very, very good unit, especially when you get his LB2, the new Gaara. Has attack up, has guard rate up, has damage rate reduction up if you're slower than your opponent, has damage increase rate up with his LB2 if you're faster. So a very, very good unit. Really, really recommend it. If you have Gaara, get him up to LB2. Alright, so the MVP of the game, Sai. This unit here is just broken. Sai deserves to get more recognition than any other unit in the game. He has a couple things that he brings to the table. Number one, his Jitsu is decent. It does chakra back to you. Also, his skill 2 gives attack up for 2 turns for all allies. His regular trait gives attack up to the cell. And most importantly, his LB2 gives chakra to every unit in your team every turn, no matter if he's in rotation or not. The only thing is he can't die. So, Sai, MVP of the game, hands down, should be everyone's number one focus. He is a game changer for every content guy, so highly recommend getting him up as the most important unit probably in the game for you. Rock Lee, decent nuke, doesn't need to be used anymore as often. I mean, he does okay, right? I mean, if you like Rock Lee, he'll do a little bit of work for you in the damage department, but not a necessity. Haku, really good unit, used primarily in Alliance Team Battle and Flashback Genealogy for PvE. Decent for PvP as well too, because he does defense down for T units, and also his nuke just hits harder in general, and he does attack up for A's. So not a bad unit, guys, overall for PvP, but PvE almost essential, so definitely build him. Mama Sakura still used in all content, to be honest, except for maybe Flashback Genealogy, because she just doesn't bring enough damage, but very, very good unit. Still one of the best units in the game for an OG unit as well too. SR Kakashi, the childhood version, amazing support unit. Highly recommend building him for every piece of content. He may not do the most damage, but he makes everyone else do that much more, right? So as long as you're faster than your opponent in every cell, you will see this unit give you so much in terms of buffs, and also the debuffs that he provides to the opponents are really, really good too. So highly recommend getting him up. SR Naruto is my favorite SR character in the game outside of Sai. One of the best nukers as an SR, gives attack up to all A's, gives attack up to all units with his Jitsu, and also brings crit and crit damage, I believe, as well too. So highly, highly recommend getting him up. Now, Rin Naruto's probably the best SR for damage, but if you just joined recently, you're not going to be able to get him. But if you do have him, guys, you know how good he is. Probably the best damage dealer in the game for SRs. So I would 100% recommend getting him. All right, so that takes care of the SRs. So there's a lot of good and only a little bit of bad. So SRs have a lot going for them. Karin, you can avoid her. Hidan, my opinion, only good for ATB, Abyss and PvP. So decent unit, not the best unit. Does give you crit suppression, status suppression, which means that you won't get stunned as often or poisoned or burned. But at the same time, he's a nuke more than he is a tank, and he also provides A units more survivability. So he's a good unit for sure. A little underrated, but only used in some content. Alright, so Chio is actually a fantastic unit now. Her heal now scales with HP. Before it never used to, and then they switched it a long time ago, but nobody really paid attention to it. But excuse me, she does hit it really hard. She has the 5k vitality, and she does heal and does other buffs if you're not faster than your opponent. So very good unit, guys. I would highly recommend, highly recommend using her if you don't have a good healer, and if you need somebody with that can cast jutsus pretty often. So really good unit. Pain, same thing, amazing unit for nuking. Has high crit rate, has really good buffs and debuffs as well too. Just buffs, and overall just a really good T damage dealer. So very good unit, and pretty much can be used for any piece of content out there. Orochimaru, he had a place, not as much anymore. Maybe for the higher level Abyss now you can use him because of all the debuffs that he causes, but outside of the high level Abyss, I don't really see him having a place. Same with B, not a very good unit overall. Has a stun, but that's as far as it goes for him. It just doesn't hit hard enough, especially for an A unit. There's just way better out there. SMN is actually pretty good. Sage Mode Naruto, he is very similar to Pain, except he's a little more selfish, and he does the attack buff instead. So I mean, I would choose Pain over SMN personally, but they both do really well against D units, so both are good units if you have them to build them. The brand new Mitski is actually pretty good. We're going to be really good in PvP specifically, and Abyss, and maybe some FGs. But outside of that, really nothing else going on for him. Danzo, very underrated, guys. Amazing unit for ATB. especially against A units. If you need a D unit, is going to be really good in Abyss, amazing for PvP, and actually really good for FG. So overall, a very stellar unit that has been overlooked far too long. Seismogray, another really good unit, amazing for PvP and Abyss and NWT specifically. Very, very good unit for that, but will not be used for places like FG, but still highly recommend getting him. Sarada, she has her place. Connected Feelings, that is the only thing I'm going to use her for personally, which is the best tribe in the game for Alliance Team Battle. So definitely use her for that, but that's about the only reason why you build her. Boruto, amazing unit, does insane damage for all content. So highly recommend getting him up if you have him. Papa Sasuke, the king of tribes now. This is what I call him. He may not have a place as a single unit, but as a tribe unit, he has the best tribes in the game. He has the Boruto SR Naruto tribe. He has the tribe with Connected Feelings with Mama Sakura and Sarada, and he has a tribe with what was the other one there I'm thinking of, Adult Team 7. So he's got a lot, like, so definitely look at him, guys, as the king of tribes for tribe specials essentially. Sublime Data Ray, you guys know how I feel about him. One of the best damage dealers in the game, just gets better as your units keep dying. So if you have him, guys, definitely build him, especially a 4-star. Obito, probably the hardest single target hitter now in the game. If we had him built like we had Kakashi and Heavy built, he would easily outdo everybody. So definitely recommend getting him up. OG Datara, still the best buff unit for crit and almost essential for every piece of content. So I highly recommend, guys, if you have him, get him to 4. You can stop there, but he is still one of the best units in the game for buffs. Kamui would have been exactly the same as Data, except the only issue with Kamui is you need to kill units, so he doesn't thrive as well in places like ATB, where you don't really kill units one go, or in Abyss. So there are going to be some places where you're going to have issues like that, right? Gaara, still a really good tank. Would recommend getting him up if you don't have any other tanks at the moment. Excuse that. But yeah, I mean, at this point, he's fallen off quite a bit. So as a brand new player, yes. As an OG, if you have put a lot into him, okay. But if you're starting from scratch with Gaara, leave him alone and go elsewhere. Minato, the only reason why I would use him is for FG. Actually, you know what? I'll take this back. Minato's actually a great unit. I shouldn't say that. I would use him for all content, especially with Bond by Rasen tribe. It's really good for everything. So Minato's a stellar character. There was a lot of hate for him, but he just wasn't what we all wanted. But at the same time, he's not a bad unit. Plus, his LB2 that we've seen does insane percentages, guys. So really good unit overall. Have to rethink him in terms of where he's in the tier list for some things. So Minato and I will talk about that. Six Tails, easily one of the best units in the game. That just does insane damage. That's what he's there for. He is the only unit that has buffs for each passing turn for attack, damage increase rate, and damage reduction rate. Just overall, just insane damage. So highly recommend getting him up if you have him. CM2 is the best stunner in the game, plus gives you attack up with his buffs, and his skill 2 does a ton of damage if he has 50% or more. I love this unit. I think he's highly useful. So put him in anything and he'll shine. So definitely build him up. Plus he's got the 5k vitality. Right? Jiraiya, really good unit as well too. Part of a lot of good tribes. Plus he's the best tribe gauge provider, and good buffer. So recommended, especially for places like ATB and Abyss, and some PvP as well. Sasori, I mean, he's easily the best buffer debuffer in the game for what he is, especially an AoE nuke. So from here on out, guys, you're pretty much looking essential. Kakashi still probably the best unit in the game for damage. If you have him, build him. He's the only one with instant jutsu, plus just overall a timeless character. Yuro Naruto, some of you may not have him, but we talked about SR Naruto. Naruto Kage can be avoided, guys. Not worth it. OG Itachi, again, can be avoided. There's just better out there. And then the last three here are my favorite units in the game. The only one here that you can kind of now lay off a little bit is probably Kirin. There are better options out there if you're not an OG player. But Sasuke, Heavy, and Itachi are primo characters, guys, so you definitely want to get them up. Alright, guys, I hope this pretty much covered everything and gave you an idea of what units you should be focusing on. This is Payne. Hope you guys enjoy your day. We'll talk soon.